Let's get started. Hi everybody, welcome to the Seattle Atheist Church. Welcome atheists, agnostics, skeptics, free thinkers, whatever you like to call yourself, you're welcome here. At the Seattle Atheist Church, we call ourselves an atheist church because you'll never hear anything supernatural promoted from the podium. Our talks are given by members of our community. Today's talk is going to be given by Mickey. Before we get to that, I have a few announcements to make. There are a couple of activities that we do periodically outside of Sunday service. So every second Sunday, we have board games. I think the next one for that is August 12th, August 13th. And every third Saturday, we have secular social at Browers in Fremont. It's nice to have a drink and get together once in a while. Also, if you find value in our weekly meetings, there are a couple of ways you can contribute. First and most important is, of course, just sharing your perspective on the talk and whatever else we talk about during group discussion. Personally, I find it really valuable to learn what everyone's thinking about various topics, and I get a lot out of that. So I'd like to see that continue. Second is basically spreading the word. So if there's somebody in your life that you know that you think would get a lot out of this as well, please feel free to invite them along so that we can also learn from their perspective. And finally, it does cost money to keep this thing going. So, it costs money to rent the room, and it costs money to provide a couple of snacks. So please consider making a financial contribution if you're so able. We have a cash jar in the back. We can also take credit, and you can donate on our website. But please do not feel that that is obligatory in any way. All right, so without further preamble, Mickey.
Friends, humans, conspecifics, it's wonderful to be here today talking with you all. I'm delighted to see a small child here, and I just want to say, don't worry, small kids are noisy. I've had 3. They are welcome here along with all the other curious, inquisitive, eager to learn minds that we bring to this organization.
Sure.
Absolutely. So I'm going to talk today about personal growth. I think most of us here are in favor of it. I'm for it. I'm good on it. I'm good with personal growth. But personal growth is really tricky because it's not as easy as just changing your mind. In fact, if you look at people's behavior, if you give people information that conflicts with the belief they have, the strength of that belief increases. Greedy. And so I have to wonder, why is the human mind so resistant to change? Well, there's a book called Core Transformations. It's an NLP book. And it approaches this problem by saying, what you really need to do is you need to do these special mental exercises to figure out what your actual core motivations are. And then all the other strategies you use to implement those motivations will be more easily changed because you'll still be being true to yourself. And I've heard from people that it works pretty well. But I think that their theory does not, I think they have a successful strategy with the wrong theoretical underpinnings. So what happens, in my opinion, when I start thinking about personal change, is that for the new thing to come into existence, the old thing has to go out of existence. And we didn't evolve with a highly intellectual, philosophical perspective in mind. We evolved with a whole bunch of repurposed survival instincts and mating urges sublimated into social bonding and all of these different pieces of haphazardly evolved meat that actually end up controlling the vast majority of our behavior. And I think what happens when we try to change is that our minds look at the fact that change means they're going to stop existing as they have been, and it triggers our survival instinct. I've watched this happen with people. I've watched people be told, You're going to have to change this thing about you, or you'll lose something you don't want to lose. And they're terrified. They cry, and they sweat, and they shake, and they beg for changing a strategy. Stop yelling at your family. People who honestly don't get anything out of yelling at their family will still be deeply, 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 viscerally frightened at the thought of going from being a person who yells at their family when they're angry to a person who doesn't yell at their family when they're angry. And the level of fear, the level of resistance, matches what people express in situations that actually threaten their physical survival. So I came up with the theory that trying to change yourself, trying to change any part of what you think of as your identity, is likely to trigger your survival instinct. And that means you have to make your changes really gradual and really so slowly enough that you have that continuity of identity to avoid scaring yourself into, I'm just going to go back to the way I've been all along because that worked, that was me, right? God forbid I become someone who isn't me. I mean, quick check here. If someone offered you a little pill that when you took it would make you as nice as the nicest person you know, would enable you to act with all the compassion and all the good judgment of your favorite, your most favored icon. For some people that's Gandhi, for some people that's Isaac Newton, although I'm told he was kind of a jerk. Whoever your sort of epitome of human mind good judgment is, if I offered you a pill that if you took it would just change your mind so you could act like that from now on, who would take that pill? I'm impressed that we're getting people out there at all. That's cool. Yeah, 3 people, 4 people. Good job. But most people wouldn't, because then it's not them anymore, it's someone else who happens to be morally really good and stuff. So I started looking for strategies for making change that actually worked. And one of those strategies is something called Kaizen. Who here is familiar with Kaizen? Raise your hand, please. Okay, about half, so I'm going to give you. So Kaizen comes from actually originally came from an American process control theorist who took it over to Japan when the Americans wouldn't listen to him. Toyota took it and made it a brilliant success. America is now adopting it back, so it's kind of a fun little circuit there. Kaizen is a philosophy of continuous improvement. Don't try to make revolutionary change. Don't try to fix everything right now in one swell swoop. Instead, make a small change, see if it makes things better. If it doesn't, undo it and make a different small change. If it does, keep it and make a different small change. But the essence of Kaizen is that you're continuously looking for changes that make you a little bit better. Just a little bit better. And it turns out this is a very effective behavior shaping strategy. For example, if you want to work out, if you want to have better physical fitness, one of the ways to accomplish that is to work out. And so many people, on January 1st go, I'm going to work out 3 times a week for the rest of the year. I'm going to work out every day for the rest of the year. I'm going to work out once a week. But pretty much no matter what people say, something like 90% of them don't actually keep or even approximate keeping that resolution. Because it's a big change. You have all your habits of thought, all of the ways you spend your time, all of the, just this one time I really need to work late instead of going to the gym. So you end up not actually changing your behavior. The Kaizen approach says, well, let's start with what is the smallest step we can think of toward this goal. And in one case study, the person who was doing it said, I'm going to think about going to the gym once a day. Think about going to the gym. Think about, oh yeah, I could go to the gym, lift some weights, get all swole. Yeah, gym. Just think about it. And after about a couple of months, they were really good at thinking about going to the gym. So they, okay, I'm gonna think about going to the gym and I'm gonna drive by the gym on my way to and from work. And so they drove by the way, it wasn't far, it was a couple of blocks out of the way. So they drove by the gym every day for a couple of months. Next step, they were going to go into the gym, walk in, walk out, and so on. Long story short, they ended up a regular gym attendee in much better health. I tried this experiment myself. I made a slightly different rule. I made the rule that I would walk into the weight room at work. There's a little lifting room. I would walk into the lifting room at work every day. Because how hard is it to walk into the room? Well, it turns out I cannot walk into a weight room without lifting weights. I tried. I was late for my bus. I ended up taking the next bus because there were the weights right there, you know? So the basics of Kaizen are make a small change, observe whether it gives the results you want, undo it if it doesn't, keep it if it does, and always make another small change, make another small change. Which is a pretty effective strategy for changing yourself. But it still doesn't help you in the situations where you actually need to change something big right away. It's great if you have 6 months to develop the habit of going to the gym every day. But it's not so great if your boss says, you have to start coming to work on time or we'll fire you. There's no incremental change to get you showing up on time every morning, you know? And trying to just make those big changes triggers that survival fear, and suddenly your own mind is fighting against itself to preserve who you are. So I was thinking about this one day, and I thought, well, if I can figure out who I am, what my real core motivation is, according to the Core Transformation book, I'll be able to, it'll free up my brain to find new strategies. But every time I need to adjust my strategies in a big way, I'm going to have to go back through all that, find my core motivation again, and demonstrate to myself that these new strategies are just as good as the old ones at this, etc. Because the problem is my identity is still whatever my current set of strategies is. My identity is someone who really likes social occasions, or my identity is someone who's an introvert, or my identity is someone who's really smart, or my identity is someone who's really quiet, or really loud. These actually are parts of people's identities, and some of them are parts of my identity, I'm not going to tell you which ones. And as long as I had an identity to attach to, I was going to have to go in and do all this hard emotional work just to get my brain to let go of who it thought it needed to be to survive, to pick up who it could be even better. I thought, wait a minute, even better. What if my identity was someone who keeps getting better? What if my identity, the thing that makes Mickey Mickey, was I'm someone who keeps changing myself and seeing whether the new person I am is more like what I want, and changing myself again. Turns out that makes a really good identity, actually. It's a really good fit for the kind of work I do, for the people in my life. It's a really good fit for what I like, which is to learn about everything and then apply it. It's a lot more me than an identity like I'm a software engineer, and I'm an atheist, and I'm poly, and I'm a person with kids, and those are all true, but they're not nearly as core to who I am as I'm someone who is constantly improving myself. That's why I own this shirt. That's why I wore it today. In case you can't see it out there in video land, it says, "Be self. Iterate until awesome." If myself is someone who keeps changing for the better, then eventually I'm going to approach and pass any concrete goal I could set for myself. Eventually, given enough time, I'm going to fix the things in my head that don't work the way I want them to. Because who I am is not the things in my head, the patterns and the practices and the strategies that I happen to have learned, or that I'm carrying over from my childhood, or that happen to work with the people I'm currently, the people I currently have in my life. Who I am is someone who keeps being myself and getting better until I'm awesome. I have no idea whether You're sweet, darling. That was my daughter, Alex. Thank you. I don't know whether it's just me who finds someone who keeps improving to be a comfortable, natural fit for my identity. But I suspect that I'm not the only person in this room who's here primarily because personal growth is something you're dedicated to. Who's here because you want to be better people and religion wasn't offering you a path to be better people. So I would suggest to all of you, think about it. Think about whether being someone who keeps changing for the better is an identity that fits you. Because for me, it's made a huge difference in my ability to keep changing for the better and to make larger, sometimes disturbingly large changes to who I am. Sometimes overnight. My family in the back is doing this. Because I'm still me. No matter what I change, I'm